I'm Donuel Benedetto. People know me as Dex. Today I got second place at the New York Regional qualifier for Buddy Fight. I was asked to do a deck profile, so we're going to go ahead and do that now. The deck profile is on a deck I like to call Super Dragons. Reason why it's called Super Dragons is because this is a deck that plays an absurd amount of size 3s. I originally named it that because when I first built this deck like 6 months ago, and it started off with mostly Super Armor Dragons, and so I was just like, oh, we'll call it Super Dragons. So that's how that came about. Originally, I did do a deck profile on it when I first started building the deck and I first started winning tournaments with it. And that was before we actually got Boomerang Dragon and before we got Tomahawk. And then it came out the week late.
And Missile Bunker Dragon.
Missile Bunker Dragon. Oh no, we got Missile Bunker Dragon first and Tomahawk. And then we got Boomerang afterwards, which is when I really started to explore it. It originally was like size 3s and size 1s, so that way like I could drop a size 3, but size 1 rush, and then I'd be able to drop a 3 at any time, and then when I start to lose advantage, I could drop a size 1 rush, put pressure on the opponent, and then they have to deal with that, and then I drop another size 3. That's how the deck worked before, but now obviously we're just going all size 3s because we have access to zeros. Alright, so the first thing that's never going to change in this deck, because I've had several builds of this deck, would be Bastard Sword Dragon. There really isn't a better card to play in a size 3 deck, just because he's so much utility. He's defensive, he's aggression, all in the same card. So he's also my main damage output. He's the card that I need to get out at least once during the game to really apply those like 6 to 8 turn pushes. Which is really important in Buddy Fight, to be able to push aggressively when you have the option to do so. So this guy goes in. He's a size 3, 7k attack, 6k defense, 2 crit. He has move and double attack, which is what makes him so good, and he's only a pay 2 gauge. So this guy is obviously utilized as like the main function of the deck. He was originally the buddy when I first built the deck. I had to change the deck for this tournament because which we'll talk about in a second. So I wasn't playing as much of the move strategy. So I couldn't leave him as the buddy. I wasn't playing Ultimate Buddies anymore because I was originally playing Ultimate Buddies with him. It was fantastic because I had to deal with Tony's stupid. He was in top 8. We played each other in top 8. He's in my local. He plays Ritter and he plays Diablo. So like Ritter was a real problem. So that gave me 2 attacks to Ritter, which was really good. All right. So next one here we have is going to be a 3 of in the deck. Now I know you guys are going to wonder why this is only a 3 of in a size 3 deck. Reasoning because originally this was at 4. I had to change it again because this deck changed tremendously, which we'll talk about again. So I don't have nearly as many monsters as I did before. I used to have I think it was like 25-ish or 26. I'm now down to 23. Therefore, this card would whiff a lot, but it's Infernal Armor Dragon, and you have to play it because against Diablos, Raging Spirits, there's a lot of things you want to pop twice. Again, it's got better stats than Tembu. It's a 7/7, which also plays into some more cards. So like, I really need to have this card in the deck. I did side one additional copy of the 4th copy for the ancient matchups and certain decks like that that I wanted to do. So that's going to be a 3 of. Now the reason why I'm only running 3 of it is because I'm also running 3 Tembu. Okay, yes, gotta have the SP.
The glorious SP.
I know you guys want to get a nice look at that. It just shines. It's gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
All right, so this is going to be going to John Muir pretty soon. So I ran 3 Tembu. The reasoning for this was because of what I'm playing in the spell lineup, which we'll discuss in a second. That's why I had to run 3 and 3. I was going for more destruction. Here's the thing. This deck used to be more of a defensive kind of move, and kind of I could attrition an opponent, or I could push for massive damage at any particular time by just continuing to recycle my size 3s. The issue is that I felt in this new meta with Dungeon World getting really big, with Naborus and things like that can double attack, there's a lot more destruction in the game. Therefore, dropping a boldness, dropping a Bastard Sword, like it really hurts when they start popping stuff multiple times in a turn, and then they're linking for these humongous numbers and more than one link a turn, and it became that I felt that I needed to change the deck a little bit. I needed to stop the rush, but I also needed to basically give myself the opportunity to outplay that whole attrition style that I saw coming with the game. So there's 3 Tembus in here for now, and we'll discuss why this is so important in a second. If you guys don't know, Tembu is one of the newer cards in Omnilord. You can play 1 copy in any world, but in Dragon World you play up to 4. People don't generally like it because you have Infernal Armor Dragon. It tends to be a better card, but this is one of those cards. Again, I argue with people when they say this card is better than this card. These cards do 2 different things, and you're going to going to see why they're two different things and why the numbers were, because they, yeah, technically this is technically better in stats. Its effect can be used a little bit better. You don't normally pop 3 monsters. This becomes it's kind of pointless. But this card definitely has its purpose, and especially now because there are a lot more triple monster formations. So that goes in at 3. Now, why are we running so many big monsters? Well, there's only one reason, because this guy is freaking awesome. General Boldness, what a terrible card this is. I don't know how many games this won for me today, and it's just such a garbage card. All right, so this guy here, you guys know I'm an advocate of this card. I absolutely love this card. I mean, yes, I understand its weaknesses. I'm not oblivious. It doesn't have double attack. It doesn't have penetrate. That 4 crit is really pressure, but the thing is that people can shield it. You have to look at this card a little differently. You have to look at this card as either, first of all, it has to be supported, which is what I'm doing. All right. The second thing is this card has to come down either early game or late game. It's very, very poor mid game. You wind up wasting advantage that you don't have. However, you drop this. This card has been most effective when I drop this on the first turn. And when I drop this card on the first turn, 90% of my games, and that's not an exaggeration, 90% of the games, I win sitting on this guy all game. Immediately opening up with 2 soul. They don't have a negate opening up. You're going in for 4. That's automatically putting him at 6.
Spells won't be that effective.
Exactly. They try to play items and spells to try to get around him. As long as I can stop the turn, which I have plenty of defensive spells to protect him and keep him on the board, the next turn I'm going to waste that advantage, and it's going to be even harder and harder and harder and harder to get over him. That's where he shines. He also shines because he's one of the few dragon monsters that has 2 soul guard, and that is phenomenal. I know it costs you 2 cards out of your hand, but when I got like 3 size 3s in my hand, I don't care. That's going to put in much more work than each one of those single size 3s by themselves will. All right. Obviously, it hurts a little bit against things like Soul Guard and stuff like that, which is why we have to really rely on the weapon for this deck. All right, so there's 3 boldness. This is a 7/4/7, 3 size 3 monster, and you pay 3 gauge, put up to two size 3s in the soul, and he has the act effect that you can remove a gauge or pay a gauge to pop a spell or an item. He also has move, which is what puts it over the line for me. Obviously, he didn't have the move, he wouldn't be good. I would just rather play a Gargantuan blade. But the fact that he has move with Soul Guard and double soul is tremendously good. It allows me to drop him, wasting all advantage. I have turns to catch up on my gauge and my advantage before I have to drop something else because he stays on the board for so long. Rounding off the lineup, we have 2 Super Armor Dragon, Gargantuan Blade Dragon. This is a card I fell in love with as soon as it came out. Before Boldness was out, I ran a size 1 Rush deck with only like 4 drums and 4 of these guys, and the card just does fantastic stuff. The ability to pop any card is amazing, and the fact that you're pitching stuff you probably don't even need because they're weapons. So when this guy comes into play, you pay 3 gauge, you can add up to 2 item cards from your drop zone to your hand, and then he has an act effect called Punisher Blade that allows you to discard a card and destroy any card on the field. So that's a monster, spell, and items, as well as the Katana World impacts, which I've done on numerous times. They go set up impact, and I'm just like, oh, that's funny, and just pop that, and then the Clear Serenity they did to make their card live and all stuff, like some stuff can really happen.
Isn't this the lowest quantity size 3 in your deck?
It is the lowest quantity. It used to be at a 3. This size, honestly, when I first read this deck, and you're gonna find out why again, this guy was at 3. Tembu wasn't in the deck at all.
He wasn't out.
Huh?
Right? He wasn't out.
No, he was out.
He was out? Oh.
I just decided, again, I'll explain it in a second. You have 4, I had 4 Infernal Armors, I had 4 Bastard Sword Dragon. To line up the other side, I had 3 of these. These were Tembus, basically 3 Tembus, and then I had 2 Crystal Sabers. That deck is very comfortable to me. I could win games with that deck, but coming to a major event like this, especially New York, and the fact that I know the caliber of players and the stuff that I'm going to see is going to be varied, and what I expected that everybody's going to have the new cards, I couldn't go with that build because it was just the game is too destruction, too beat stick heavy now. Nothing's small anymore. Everything's base 6K now, and it really hurts. All right. So so if you're counting, that's 15 size 3s. That's what makes this deck special. This is 15 size 3s. It seems inconsistent, but you guys can see I have no problem bringing stuff out. Just can't go against Greybird. All right. So we got 4 zeros. Nothing to say here, guys. I will only say one thing. That's why I ran this as Buddy and Bastard Sword was originally, but I needed something a little more consistent because, again, in this build, last build I had, I'd bring Bastard Sword out as soon as I have it. That's why it was my Buddy, and I could use it with Ultimate Buddy. In this deck, in this meta, depending on what I'm playing against, I may not want to summon Bastard Sword right away. So I need something that I can gain that life. I need to be able to take hits. All right, so we have 4 Boomerang. That's pretty self-explanatory, guys. It bounces back to your hand. It's like you have to hit it with destruction, or else I'm always going to have that 0 in hand. He's a great card. It's 2K power, hurts a little bit. 1 crit hurts even more, but it's a great card. I don't want it to be any more good because Dragon will be broken. Then we have 4 Missile Bunker Dragons. Now here's the thing. Yes, I'm maxing out 0s because I'm playing size 3s and I want 0s. But people say that they don't really appreciate this card so much. And here's the importance of this. This card is actually more of a staple in this deck than this card is. And the reason why is because if I fall behind, they block my knuckle. I don't get the return system. Like I don't get blue shields. I can get in trouble, engage trouble really, really quickly. This card also allows me to preemptively plan my next turn. So if I go Gargantual Blade Dragon, like you guys saw me several times, I go down to 1 gauge, and then I'll call this guy out. So now you have to stop 2 things. And if not, this is going to hit, I'm going to gain my gauge. You're going to deal with my monster, but now I have 2 gauges something else, if Knuckle and Return System also go off. So this is very important. This deck can produce, you guys saw, I had like in 2 games, I had piles of gauge on my board. But sometimes I'll dry up completely. So this is something that will get me back into the game until I can start getting the deck flowing again. This is very, very important monster. Yes, it does go back to the deck. It's got penetration, which is cute. I love it. It's really, really fantastic. 1 crit, 4K power, penetration, goes back to the deck, gives me a gauge. All right, so that's the monster lineup. That's 23 monsters, you keep in count. Which is why, again, I dropped the Inferno down to 3 because it wasn't as effective. Now, I just want to talk about this one card. Okay, listen, guys, let's just do this quick. We got 4 blue shields. If you don't know what this card does by now, like, I really wonder what game you're playing. The most broken shield in the game. Blue shield, enough said. Gauge a card, negate an attack. You have 4 green shields, obviously, as well. I have move, so I can play with an open center, I can play with a closed center, doesn't matter. Dragon shields go in, all in. You know, yes, I have sided out a green shield or 2 to side other cards in during the side match because, again, the shields, I find sometimes I charge them or I don't need them all the time because of how the rest of the deck is built. Then we're going to go 4 Drago Bonds, okay? This card is phenomenal. Everybody knows this card. I can't activate if I have an open center, but if my monster gets destroyed, I gain 2 life. So the next time a monster is destroyed, it stays on the field, and I gain 2 life. So I get to protect my monster and gain 2 life. It's just so much utility in 1 card. The downside is I can't have an open center, but the idea is to abuse this with move. You guys, if you don't know this by now, you can activate this during your main phase, and then at the move phase, you can move your monster to the middle. Drago Bond's still in effect. This doesn't require a timing for destruction. You can activate this at any time and counter it to anything, which is what makes it great. It's not specific, so you can do stuff like that. So that's 4 Drago Bond. Obviously, I need to gain life. I need to protect my monsters. So this is all going to be about protecting the size 3 until I can put another one down, which means you have to have ways to protect it. And Dragon Barrier. I talked with people about this, and a lot of people feel like this is the superior card. A guy, John Muir, actually was helping me out with this deck, and we had a lot of conversations this week. And one of the things he said that, you know, like if we were trying to figure out the spell lineup because we were changing around. Originally, I always ran 4, but now he's like, you know, honestly, like we had to cut 1 if we had to play 3 of. We were talking 3 ofs of Dragon Barrier build. Like he was saying that because this is clearly the superior card. I may have felt that in my old build when I had 2 more movers on the main deck, but in this build, because of I'm going to be calling a center a lot, and again, we're getting to that part, I'm going to want the barrier. And I'm so glad I didn't, because barrier put in so much work. This is the one. This card basically does what Drago Bond does. It protects my monster from destruction, size 2 or greater though. So sadly, I can't protect my zeros like Drago Bond can. But I can have a center with this. This is phenomenal for when I want to call a Tembu, or I want to call an Infernal Armor Dragon to center, and I want to keep it on the board a little while longer. I don't want to take damage. I want to eat some more attacks. It acts like a pseudo shield. Additionally, it allows me to make plays where sometimes I have to waste a few cards to survive the turn. I can be able to Drago Bond move, and if they have multiple attacks, I can catch them off guard, which I have, which we talked about. I just said I was worried about the multiple attacks, that people could link attack twice. So they can link attack, Drago Bond, I gain 2 life, and they think they're going to get rid of my monster then, and then you Dragon Barrier. Because they're not expecting this. Dragon Roll is all about the open center. This is one of the few cards. They link attack over Drago Energy or Drago Defense. Drago Barrier comes down and shuts that turn down. So this card is absolutely a necessity in this one. I'm never going to put those at 3 ever. I debated it, but even with this new build, I can't do it to myself. It's got to be a 4. Now the reason I'm going to go to the side deck here real quick, guys. The reason why this is what I was playing on the side deck. This was originally supposed to be me. At the last minute, again, me and John Muir, we talked about this. This is really good. It really put in a lot of work. When I sided this in against what I needed to, it did phenomenal things and made people cry. This is why I changed the deck, because I needed to be able to get away from the penetration. I needed to be able to get away from the multiple destruction of my board. I needed to be able to get away from the attritions and the link attacks and the double attacks that were really kind of like overpowering this deck, which shouldn't happen. This card, this is why I changed the whole deck to 3 Tembu, 3 Inferno. This card allows me to bring out a Tembu from my hand when I get attacked. And Tembu comes down and blows the board. And now I have Beater on board, I've blown your board, and I don't have to set up. Why don't I just summon Tembu on your turn? Or why don't I just activate Green Shield or whatever and then do that? Well, the reason why is because I would go Inferno and I would pop stuff, or Tembu or something like that, and I would get penetrated or I would get, destruction. So this allowed me to play with basically an empty field. And people would see this and they're like, oh, he's got nothing. He's got nothing on the board. They would go call, quip, call, and swing, thinking that, oh, he's gonna have to waste a couple Dragon Shields. And you do this and shut down their entire turn, and you've just set up your offense. Card did phenomenal things. This was originally on the main deck. It was a last-minute decision, like maybe last night or the night before, that I said I may want to side this. I'm going to take the risk that these decks aren't going to be as bad as I think they're going to be. The main deck was solid enough that I could win games, and then if I face one of those rough matchups, that's when it went in. Against Justin, it went in. Like Graybar hurts. I don't want to put something out on the board for him just to pop and then beat me when I could just be like, okay, well I'll hit with the weapon or I'll hit with this monster. You hit that, okay, fine. I take 3, you attack, pop your set and go again. You know what I mean? Pop your stuff, go again. So I just wanted to show you that. This is why this was all. This is why this is all important on the numbers. Finishing off the spells though, that's not on the side deck, which we'll go over. To replace that, instead of playing that, I decided to main the Drago defense. We were testing between Drago defense, Dragonic Shoot, Paratrooper, and my friend Matt also mentioned Dragonic Thunder. I found Dragon Shoot not effective at all in this game. I mean, it's kind of good if you're playing against like size 1, size 2 rush, and you're playing that game. Like to be able to removal of the one monster could mean the difference between you taking crits for game or not. But the whole like it didn't seem worth it to play it because I'm not really worried about the smaller monsters generally. I mean, yeah, there are things like Shido and things like that, but I can't play this card on my main because it's just not doing anything else in any other situation. So that's something that's going to have to be thought about. Dragon Thunder was a better option. I would have loved to have a size 1 destroyer, but again, guys, you can see that I could acquire mountains of gauge, but then again, I may not. And I can't have a dead card in hand at any time. My cards need to be live as much as possible because I'm already going to be playing dead cards. So this Drago defense went in. I chose over Paratrooper. I went Drago defense. I don't like Drago Energy. I stopped playing Drago Energy because it was too predictable. Drago defense, I gave it a shot because I'm like, this deck, I'm playing size 3s. My guys' attacks are already big enough. Yeah, it screwed me over a couple times that, they had 8K defense or something. But ultimately, though, this wound up winning games because of the fact that people were thinking Drago Energy and not thinking Drago defense. Or the fact that, I don't know, Gargantuan Blade goes up to 12K. Good luck linking into that, Like, it's this card actually, this was the smart move by my part, to main this and decide the Paratrooper. So I'm glad that I did that. So those were the options that we had. The final 3 spells and how I create Mounts Engage is obviously Dragonic Return System. It's played at 3. I could play it at 2. This can be played at 2, but I didn't want to take the risk in such a major tournament. Again, when I play locals, I might toy around the deck a little bit, but I really wanted to see consistency in this deck. So we went 3 Dragonic Return System because I needed to get it. I mean, I can win games without it. I can control my gauge enough, but when I get it, it makes things a little easier. And then also, once today, it did save me from losing. I went back up to 2 and was able to win the next turn. So that's always an added benefit. Even in like, if I don't have something to abuse with it, I'll still play it just in case because it can act like another shield, and I'm only playing 23 monsters. It's a lot of spells and a lot of, on this deck, so like it goes off a lot. Yes, it's 52 cards, get over yourselves. It's really not a big deal. It doesn't really change much in the probability at all. If it comes down to me not playing, playing 2 copies of this and 3 copies of this and 3, I'd rather just play sets and have the extra 2 cards. And as much as I'm gauging with blue shields and Dragonic Return Systems and everything else, the chances are by turn 1 or 2, I've already gone way lower than a 50 card deck. I've already milled those extra 2 cards out of my deck easily. Items, last lineup. Needless to say, this is an automatic staple because, again, you need ways to create gauge to keep your deck flowing. So this is 4 Drago Knuckles. This card is the best weapon in the game, in my opinion. I absolutely love this weapon. Or used to be. Maybe it's debatable now. But second effect isn't used very often, but it has won me games today because I had to go up to the 4K to beat into the Talica. Which, you know, again, that was 1 game, but is what it is. So that's 4 Knuckles there. Then this is where it got a little tricky. This part of the lineup just changed so many freaking times. I wanted to run 3 critters. On my main deck, I was running 3 crit weapons because I really wanted to put the damage output. This is the problem I faced a little bit today, was the fact that I wasn't having enough damage output. I was used to that 3 crit sword and things like that. But I decided to go with these weapons. I needed the 6K power. I was realizing that I needed a little bit more to beat into, so that was good. This one allows me, with this kind of a strategy and moving things to the center, you know, again, penetration is a big weakness of this deck, so this is going to help mitigate that. This obviously is a complete kill to Wizard Burn. Like, you know, there's a lot of factors. If I could have gotten this out during Greybard, would have been helpful versus Greybard. If I would have gotten Drago Bombs, would have been helpful versus Greybard, but I don't see these cards when I need them. But there's 2 in there, why not? And then we're playing the 1 copy of Sunshine Impact because it's 2 crit. I need that damage. I could have played 2 of these, but I felt like this is a card that I want to see it when I need it. This is kind of just an icing on the cake card. And obviously the link attack into Diablos with the buddy was just absolutely hilarious versus Tony. So that
Constant.
this becomes this. Yeah, every turn I have an infinite attack if I want to have an infinite attack because I'm not really always calling. You know, a size 3 and 2 zeros. You know, a lot of times I have a triple formation, so that still works really well. So those are the weapons, and that is the deck in a nutshell. Let's go over the side deck, which the side deck can play around. I mean, obviously I did some things with it, but ultimately the 3 Drago. I was just deciding which spells to go over. The Drago defense was in the side. Again, I decided last minute to instead of maining 2 Tembu and siding 1 Tembu, I decided to main the 3 Tembu, so that way it'd be easier to side in, because you guys gotta understand something. When you put stuff in your main deck, it makes it a lot easier to side out, because then you don't have to take other things in to fit everything in. So the fact that I'm already running 3 Tembus, I don't have to worry about it. So I ran 3 Tembus on the main, and I ran 3 Infernos, and I sided the 4th Inferno. Which, here it is. I sided the 4th Inferno, like I said. This guy whiffed a lot. That was the big problem. 23 monsters, whiffs all the time. So, you know, so like, again, he's still good, even with the 1 pop, but, you know, I felt like Tembu was going to be more effective versus triple formations thing. I want to see Tembu a little bit more, and I saw them equally. So I really didn't see a problem with this being a 3. Again, went in 4 when I needed it. Also, when I sided in these, I went 3 Tembu for that, because I want... Let's play this card. I either want Tembu, which is great, I love it, and this can work too because he's a big defense in the center. He's a big butt. And then if I get a soul, then I pop a monster anyway. So I can wait for you to attack with weapon, and you attack with monster, and I pop the other monster. You know what I mean? And also, to point out, this card does not require me to call it to the center, and it redirects the attack. So I could call this to the side, and it redirects it over here, and that can avoid me penetration. So if they're attacking with a penetrating unit, and I know they're going to kill something, I can go Tembu, let them kill it, but I don't take the penetration damage, and I still blow their board. So that's the 4 cards there. Next, I had 2 Survey. I wanted it at 3, but I had to make room for the side deck, and this is in here basically only for stars. Because I got Gargantua, let's face it, I got Gargantua Blade Dragon, I got General Boldness. I don't really need much more backfill removal. I never sided this in today, but if I face stars, I want this card, so it's got to go on the side. Even if I never side it in, listen, I'm just glad that I didn't have to side it in. That's it. But if it's there, it's there. Not that you can't beat stars with this deck, but of course, you don't rush very well, you don't get full attack, so killing your effects can hurt for a while. Then I sided 2 Ultimate Neo Dragon Drum the Future. This was just this was both to hurt my, to help me with my worst matchups, as well as just kind of a lulz card when I seeing like kind of how the game is going. Like, okay, listen, you side this in versus dragons, you drop this with 3 and 2 and a boomerang on the side. You know, it's 3, 4, 5, 6. If you're at 6 or less life, it's basically impact. Okay, and for this deck that, you know, could play impact. Actually, I was playing Gigantic Crush Crusher originally. Before I started going the Paratrooper with the Gated Crusher and stuff like that, and the fist weapons. But that's why I went back to the swords, because I just had to, change it up, and I wasn't playing Crusher. But this is my impact. This is also so I can put it against dragons. Occasionally I was sighted in dragons, and I saw that they were being shield happy with their deck. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna catch you on that. But the main reason for this card is for Dragon Ein, specifically not Ein, but specifically the weapon from Ozzy Dahaka.
Right?
Yeah, I can't pronounce it. I know it's got an awesome name.
It's
or whatever.
It took me a while to get it.
I call it the Ozzy Dahaka sword. So
Ozzy sword.
The Ozzy sword. There we go. So the Ozzy sword, as you guys know, prevents you from doing it negates attacks that are single attacks. So I need to be able to link attack first of all. Additionally, because of the way that deck works, it's like once they get that sword on the board, it's like they play one card a turn, shield, and it's very hard to get through. This will allow me to push the game. So if I can push enough damage through early game and they try to do that, then I can drop this off to finish them off. So this helps Ian. This also helps against Ritter because it's 11k power, which is also another one of my bad matchups. Ritter and Ozzy, basically things that are limiting me to less attacks in a deck that already does less attacks on normal can hurt me really, really bad. So this, besides penetration and destruction on it, this can really hurt Ian. So this is in there for those two matchups. And again, the walls. Again, for my worst matchup, the last two cards are Twin Dragon Blaze Dragon Anthem. Again, another card that people say are phenomenal or better than cards that I'm playing, but this card costs 2 gauge, it hurts. Playing a weapon first turn, like it automatically sets me up with 1 gauge. I can't summon a monster. Again, I really can't afford to play this in the main deck. However, I can't afford not to play it because of what it does for my worst matchups. Again, Ritter, Link. That's 2 Dragon Shields you have to waste. Both standing weapon, Link. It gives me more attacks. Or Link with size 3, stand, and then attack again. But that's how that goes. Or you link with, you can link with Gargantua and Boldness into 10, and then you can link it to the game. You can do a whole bunch of different things with this card. It just basically does that. It allows me the additional attacks for Ritter, for Ozzy, so I can do multiple attacks. So that's the important part. Again, guys, that is Super Dragons. I was able to take second place. My only losses in the tournament, again, were to Justin Gee twice. Justin Gee beat me round 3. Summon Greybard. It was the only card that beat me the whole day. Greybard came down first game. Came down second game and came down third game. I was managed to deal with the second game, round 3. And then obviously in the final round, which you guys took a video of, I got completely monkey stomped. It was disgusting. Greybard, again, it is what it is. So that is definitely a problem. I don't remember it being such a problem because I played against Greybard before. Maybe because I didn't draw the Drago Bonds at all versus Justin. I didn't have any Drago Bonds. I may have had one maybe during the final, but I had to use it to protect myself. And I didn't draw the weapon that reduces damage, so there was really no help on that fact. Nothing else in my deck was really doing me. And he was playing size 3 style deck anyway. It was like Talikas and Greybirds and the penetrating and double attacking bull crap. So, it was really a mirror match of the two. And sadly, when it comes to size 3 builds, Darkness Dragon has it because they have Wrath Trigger. Like, they have better Wrath Trigger. They can negate penetration. They have Dragon Shields. Like, they have everything that they really need. I'm not complaining. Dragon's World's spells are pretty broken, but Drago Bomb requires some finesse to use. Again, Dragon Barrier doesn't net you any advantage, doesn't give you any counterattack, requires some finesse to use. The shields require open centers, and he has a lot more options, a lot more gauge options, because his gauge are kind of single-use items, where he gains a life and then gains 2 gauge on top of that. I just have to sit here and set up 2 card combos to gain kind of gauge like that. So again, it was a very, very rough matchup. The good news is, anyone who wants to play this deck, it's not going to be the Talika deck thing is not going to be a big thing. I don't think so. I imagine people are going to want to build it and want to play it.
Try it out.
Then again, they're not Justin Gee too, so that's that's his deck, that's his baby, and he plays it. Nobody plays it like he does. I know when I see that, you're going to see the most janky deck you ever did, because that's what we do. We like to play outside the box, and it's going to be good. But it's a fun tournament today, guys. Thank you for the deck profile. So I hope everybody out there enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope maybe this will spark some ideas. That's always the idea, to do this kind of stuff.
All right.
So.
Well, thank you again, Dex.
All right, man. Take care, guys. Bye.
Yep. See ya.